A silent tension inside McLaren. A technical secret that was never meant to reach the public. A young champion in the making suddenly left without answers. And now, Andrea Stella has revealed what really happened to Oscar Piastri in Mexico. From the first practice laps, though, something subtle began to unsettle the orange machines. Engineers noticed small fluctuations in the telemetry, a few milliseconds of delay in hydraulic response, minor inconsistencies in steering feedback, nothing visible to the naked eye. To the outside world, McLaren looked flawless, two competitive cars ready to fight for the podium. But inside the garage, Andrea Stella's eyes narrowed. His instincts told him something deeper was wrong. McLaren's engineers began to chase a ghost in the data, a whisper of instability that appeared and vanished as quickly as it came. And at the heart of that mystery was Piastri's car. Through it all, Piastri drove with the serenity of a man unfazed by chaos. He could feel the imbalance, the small hesitations in the suspension, yet he adapted seamlessly. Lap after lap, he was adjusting his inputs, compensating instinctively for a car that was no longer speaking the same language. To the team on the pit wall, his pace looked steady. To those listening closely to his radio messages, it was clear that the young Australian was working harder than anyone realized. His voice was calm, analytical, and precise. "The car feels slightly delayed on response, but I can handle it." It was not a complaint, it was data. Pure, technical data from a driver with the mind of an engineer. Andrea Stella, a man known for his quiet intellect, decided to dig deeper. Late into the evening, he led a small team to examine the system logs line by line. What they found changed the narrative of the entire weekend. A hidden software miscalibration, a tiny flaw in the active suspension control algorithm, had created micro-delays in the hydraulic damping under low-grip conditions. In simple terms, the car was lying to its driver. Each time Piastri turned in, the rear suspension reacted just a heartbeat too late, destabilizing the aerodynamic balance and robbing him of confidence in corners. It was not a hardware failure. It was a digital shadow that only a driver of Oscar's sensitivity could detect. When McLaren's engineers finally sat down to review the data from Piastri's MCL39, what they saw left the entire control room in silence. The telemetry didn't show failure, it showed inconsistency. Minute delays between steering input and hydraulic response, pressure drops that lasted just a fraction of a second, and a pattern that made no mechanical sense. It was the kind of issue that could never be detected on a standard simulator run, because it wasn't caused by broken hardware or fatigue. It was caused by something deeper, a mismatch between the software's internal timing and the physics of the real world. And in Formula One, that kind of misalignment is poison. The high altitude of Mexico City had exposed it mercilessly. At over 2,000 meters above sea level, air density drops dramatically. Cooling systems lose efficiency, pressure sensors drift, and hydraulic response time changes. McLaren's software should have compensated automatically, adjusting the suspension mapping to account for the thinner air. But in Piastri's car, that correction loop was running one generation behind an older calibration package carried over from Austin. Nobody noticed the difference in code. It was a silent oversight buried deep within thousands of parameters. But on track, that delay became a nightmare. Every time Piastri turned the wheel, the car's reaction arrived an instant too late. And yet, against all logic, he adapted. While the system lagged, he read it intuitively. His steering traces showed perfect anticipation, initiating movement slightly earlier to preempt the car's delayed reaction. That level of compensation is not something a driver learns. It's something a driver feels. As Andrea Stella later said, Oscar's sensitivity is so refined, he detected a timing error before our sensors did. It was a statement that carried both pride and guilt. McLaren had given him a car that wasn't fully synchronized with its own brain, and he had made it look almost flawless. From the pit wall, the engineers struggled to comprehend how he kept such consistency. On average, his lap time variation was less than 0.2, even as the car's hydraulic pressures oscillated wildly. That data alone defied expectation. In the telemetry review, Piastri's trace looked smooth, almost poetic, a pattern of precision layered over chaos. When one of the engineers compared his inputs to Norris's data, the difference became clear. While Lando was reacting to feedback, Oscar was predicting it. He was essentially driving a future version of the car that existed one heartbeat ahead of the machine's own timing. Stella realized the gravity of what had happened. This wasn't a driver error, he told the press later. It was a system error that Oscar managed better than we could have imagined. It was the kind of praise rarely heard in Formula One, where technical issues are often hidden behind closed doors. But this time, silence would have been unfair. Piastri had turned a failure of technology into a display of pure driving intelligence. His calm communication, his precision under pressure, and his refusal to panic transformed what could have been a technical embarrassment into a demonstration of resilience. By the time the team understood the full picture, the race was already history. McLaren had lost valuable points, but gained something far more meaningful: confirmation that Oscar Piastri wasn't just fast, he was perceptive in a way few drivers are. He didn't need a perfect car to deliver excellence. He only needed a problem to reveal what kind of driver he truly was. This was the first layer of the secret Stella uncovered, not a scandal of politics, but of performance. A glitch that hid in plain sight, exposed only by the calm precision of the man behind the wheel. And what McLaren would discover next would go even deeper. When Andrea Stella finally saw the full diagnostic report from Oscar Piastri's car, the mystery deepened into something almost unbelievable. The failure that had haunted McLaren through the entire weekend was not mechanical in the traditional sense: no broken arms, no fractured seals, no damaged pistons. What they found was subtler, almost invisible: a timing desynchronization between the hydraulic actuator and the electronic control unit. In simpler words, the car's mechanical heartbeat and its digital brain had fallen out of rhythm. In modern Formula One machinery, suspension systems are no longer just springs and dampers. They are living, breathing systems of hydraulics, algorithms, and real-time sensors that communicate thousands of times per second. If that rhythm falters even by a millisecond, the result is chaos. The hydraulic pressure either arrives too early or too late, upsetting the aerodynamic platform and destabilizing the car mid-corner. That is exactly what happened to Piastri. His MCL39 was oscillating between perfect stability and complete unpredictability in the blink of an eye, the kind of behavior that terrifies most drivers. But Oscar was different. He sensed the lag almost instantly and adjusted in real time. The engineering team would later describe the issue as latency drift, a microscopic delay caused by corrupted calibration data in the active damping system. In a sport where drivers rely on instantaneous feedback to dance on the edge of control, even a tenth of a second's delay feels like an eternity. Piastri was effectively driving a car that responded to his inputs slightly out of sync, as if the machine were one thought behind him. Imagine playing a violin that echoes your note a heartbeat late. Now imagine doing that at 200 miles per hour. That was the reality of his race in Mexico. And yet, rather than overcompensate or lose confidence, Piastri reprogrammed his instincts. He began to anticipate the car's rhythm instead of fighting it, steering with micro-adjustments that neutralized the delay before it could destabilize the chassis. His telemetry showed no erratic spikes, no hesitation, just smooth, consistent control. One engineer later said, "It was as if he was driving with predictive vision." The software may have stumbled, but Piastri's brain had rewritten the rules in real time. When McLaren compared his data to Norris's, the difference became extraordinary. Norris's car, running on the updated calibration, showed perfect synchronization between driver input and system response. Piastri's, by contrast, revealed a measurable lag, sometimes 3 to 4 milliseconds, yet his lap consistency remained almost identical. That level of control is something no simulator can teach. It is pure perception. It is what separates talented drivers from generational ones. Stella stood before the data monitors, realizing what his driver had achieved. "Oscar managed a system fault that should have been undrivable," he later said. He didn't just survive the issue, he extracted performance from it. The admission was as humbling as it was revealing. While technology had failed the team, the human being behind the wheel had risen above it. Piastri's race in Mexico wasn't a display of speed alone. It was proof of composure under conditions that would have broken most drivers. By the end of that analysis, the word failure no longer felt accurate. What Stella had uncovered was something far more complex, a lesson in how the future of Formula One depends not only on innovation, but on the intuition of drivers who can outthink their own machines. And that, as the McLaren principle would soon admit, is precisely what Oscar Piastri did.